Okay, today won't be a very long video. It's not going to be as long as the last time, but it's following up on the innovation section that we studied last time. And it's going to introduce something called the business model canvas. I mentioned business model last year, and I described it as the way that the company makes money. So you can have a typical normal business model of exchanging cash for services and products, or you can have an online business model where you sell either products that can be delivered online, like concert tickets or airplane tickets or music or film, streaming. This can be done by exchanging credit card numbers with the company, so then you have, that's another business model. We have business models where we buy a card for our telephone and then we scratch the card off and put the code number into our phone to get more credit into our phone. So in that case, as a customer, you go and you buy the card from a distributor of cards. So that happens at, so the people who buy the cards pay Mobifone, for example. So Mobifone sells their cards for maybe $85,000 or something, and the people who sell the cards to you get to keep $15,000. So that keeps them buying the cards, and it keeps you wanting to resupply the cards. So that format works well for the phone company because they don't, I mean, maybe in a, future world they'll want to have everyone pay through their credit cards, but at this time you still want to have phone cards available on the street. So they offer it that way. When you go to, if you've ever been to another country like Singapore or Thailand, where they have a service for metro or a subway system, you have multiple ways that you can pay. You can try to put money in the machine, cash or coins. You can use your card to get a top up of how you pay for you can go to the window and you can pay a physical human being for the ticket. And what they try to do is give you different choices. Some of them might be more efficient or faster. They want you to be able to get in and on, on the subway as fast as possible. So usually you buy a card, and then you can click the card until it runs out of credit, and then you can top up the card. So that's another form of business model. But business model has two sides. It's not just payment, it also includes the distribution and how the customer receives the product. So if it's a delivery service, there's going to be different conditions about timing of delivery, safety of delivery. Sometimes you actually pay on delivery, so that's a very common form in Vietnam of a business model. The business model goes, it does include elements of marketing, right? So we're still on marketing here, and innovation is a product marketing, but there's also innovation that you can do in your business model. And that's what we're going to look at today with the business model canvas. But a note before that, we can think about the benefits of innovation. What are the benefits of innovation? Obviously, the number one, if you think about innovation and success, you should think competitive advantage should be the first thing that comes to your mind. I'm on page 56 in our book, chapter 9. You should have your book ready when you open your video lessons. A business case can be made for innovation. Of course, it costs money and there's risk. So there's a business case, but you have to weigh the cost versus the risk. If you start something and it's not working, you cannot be stubborn. You kind of have to give up on that idea. Maybe the timing is wrong. Maybe people aren't ready. Maybe you didn't explain it to them well enough and you didn't promote it correctly. So you have to be willing to understand when things, it takes some kind of sixth sense a little bit to know when something's working or not working, and you put too much into it. So there's some cases of the United States government, for example. They made some fighter jet, right? It cost billions, untold billions of dollars to make this fighter jet, research and development, figure out what kind of materials, pay all the bribes for everyone. And so, there are billions of dollars into what's going to be a new military plane. It took 10 years, 7, 8, 10 years to develop. When they started the project, the plane that they were going to design was going to be the state of the art. In other words, it was going to be the top plane. Nobody could beat it. It was going to be #1. After 5 years, they already saw designs from other countries that were stronger, better designs. This plane was not going to be the best plane. It was going to end up being inferior to the competition. And yet, because they started the project, they just poured more and more billions into it, even though it wasn't going to succeed anymore as its plan and goal. So, you can get some benefits from this kind of innovation, but if you push too hard, or you don't understand the market really well, or you don't see the competition clearly, then you could end up wasting tons of money. So, a business case can be made for innovation, however, before implementing a change, its cost and benefits must be analyzed to ensure that it will have a positive impact on the business. You have to understand your market and understand your competition. Of course, the most common benefit to any business idea, innovation, improvement is to gain financially. Now, those innovations, as we mentioned in the last video, can be product innovations. And that means you have to market it, the new features and benefits to the customers, and to be able to have them understand why it's new and different. And then we have process innovation, which generally leads to cost savings, which the customers don't see. They maybe see it in a lower price, but they don't see why necessarily it's a lower price. So, in these, depending on if it's a product or process innovation, you're going to have a different kind of gain. You're either going to have higher profits or lower costs. So, but they're both financial gains. Now, if we're talking about disruptive innovation, if you are a disruptor, which means someone who blows up a market, so, digital cameras killed the film and real camera business, and then mobile phones killed the digital camera business. If you're a disruptive innovation that changes an entire industry, of course, there are huge profits that are available to you to make. So, especially being, first, if you're first to market and first to popularization. All right, innovation may lead to increased income or a new income source through the creation of a new market. That's disruptive. Or the capture of more market share. Usually that's some kind of incremental innovation that's allowing you to be somewhat slightly better than your competition. Innovation may also prolong the product life cycle, so keeping the product in the maturity phase, or maybe even the growth phase, or returning it to the growth phase. So Apple keeps coming back, Apple 10, I guess the next one will be called XI, I'm guessing. And in that case, that goal of that is to keep the product seeming fresh, even though it's not really fresh. So keeping the product's life cycle by delaying the onset of the decline stage. This can be done by adding features, improving quality and performance, perhaps, like the camera, more pixels in the camera. Customer demand can be maintained or increased. This will prolong the maturity stage of the life cycle or result in a period of sales growth or renewed sales growth. Again, process innovation. It may reduce waste and costs, which also result in more profit. So one is a product or service innovation. The other one is a process innovation. Innovation may involve less expensive manufacturing processes, substituting cheaper material, better design, higher quality, less errors, less waste, and better quality control all the way around. So, process innovation is also effective innovation for financial gain. Here they're using Apple. Apple has perfected the approach by offering incremental improvements to existing products in order to drive sales growth. For example, each iteration of the iPhone is marginally, slightly different to the last, but results in high global demand because they're upgrading to the new product. Now, obviously, you can be cynical, I'm cynical, and say, okay, well, I'm sure Apple knew that they could do all these innovations like way at the beginning. And they just kind of said, okay, when we do the Apple III, we'll do this. When we do Apple IV, we'll add these two things. They planned it a long time ago. It's not like, oh, wow, we just discovered some new features we can add to the product. Amazing, let's share it with the customers. No, they could have done things that they do now probably 5 years ago, but they're like, let's wait until we don't have any more ideas, and then we'll just add it to the new version of the new iPhone. That's it, it's planned. This whole thing is a plan. So don't think of it as like, this innovation that Apple does, it makes them maybe look like they're very innovative, but they had these plans for a long time. One gain, financial gain. Of course, when you expand internationally and you're creating new products, you develop your reputation for being, quote, innovative as a company. And as that goes, some people think you're cool in designs, maybe even. You don't even have to innovate the product very much. You just might have interesting designs. An innovation can be marketed to the world. If the intellectual property driving it is protected. Okay, so if you keep coming up with innovations, you also maybe can update your patents for your phone or whatever you're selling, and also have increased protection and a longer term competitive advantage based on the monopoly power of intellectual property protection. So, the competitive advantage created by the innovation can be translated into global competitiveness. Oftentimes, just an aside, oftentimes we hear complaints from the Americans about Apple's innovations being stolen by China. So did China steal Apple's some ideas from the iPhone by opening it up and seeing what's in there and copying some things? Probably. So on the one hand, yeah, okay, I agree, it's a little bit unfair. The Chinese can steal intellectual property and there's no laws that can stop them. On the other hand, the US was able to have their intellectual property stolen because they decided to manufacture it in China with cheap labor costs. So let's not pretend Apple didn't get a benefit from this. So both sides kind of benefited. There was an exchange of technology somewhere for a very cheap labor cost, and everyone who was involved got rich. So they can complain, and that's mostly for the workers that lost their jobs in the US. Anyway, the innovation could lead to options for expansion, franchising, licensing, easier to do, to make alliances with other businesses because they know your name and they trust you. And that would also be called partnerships. Technologies such as e-commerce, groupware, and online ordering, distribution, and payment systems make global expansion possible. I don't know what's the point of that. But anyway, you'll expand your brand and you'll expand your reputation in the market all globally. Of course, There's the possibility that you'll be able to increase your market share. Of course, this depends. I'm on page 57, by the way, if you're not following. That you'll increase your market share because, well, it depends, you know. If you're creating a brand new market through your innovation, then you are the market share. And if you're disruptive innovation, then you're taking market share from another industry. Excuse me. And if you're, you know, in a market that's already established, yeah, okay, then you're taking market share. Innovation may result in a new product or service. That's what I was saying. It captures market share or creates a new market, which is different. Product innovation may be a fad, a trend, a fidget spinner, if you will. Fidget spinners, what happened to them? Responding to existing customer demand in a new and better way, or to anticipate a market trend. Process innovation may result in a better way to interact with customers, maybe through social media or some new purchasing method that can be done online, for example. So payment methods, yeah, you can have, if you can increase the amount of customers that are able to buy from you compared to your competitors. So definitely some innovations, especially payment methods and delivery methods, can increase your market share. A company can enhance their public image and potentially consumer demand and loyalty through environmental management innovation. If the company can make some claim that is true, that they actually produce something that's environmentally friendly, reduce their carbon footprint, reduce waste, better manage pollution, be a better citizen to the world, then this may they can be seen as a green company, and this greenness would presumably make customers want to do business with them as an alternative to the competition that they have. So, so market share can be gained through innovation, through creating a better public image, say environmentally friendly, cutting costs, which allows you to offer lower prices, or to create better payment systems or innovation in distribution that allows you to reach more customers. So that's 3 things that would allow you to increase market share. So I think you should know, yeah, I think you should definitely have that, be able to discuss the benefits of innovation. So the second thing I wanted to do today is just talk about this idea of a business model. And there's kind of an interesting canvas is something you paint on. But it allows you to have a visual representation of a market, right? Or of your strategy in the market. It's quite useful. So here's what the template looks like. So you can use this to get some idea of how your business relates to your customers and the relationships in the, I would say the operational, so you have the external environment, you have the internal environment of the company, and then you have the operational, the daily operational environment. So this tends to combine the internal and operational environment. So I would like to to get this to be more clear. I don't know if I can do that. Let's try. Get my focus better. Ooh. I can see a little bit it's just size. Kind of. Yeah, I'll post it so you can see it. Okay, so the elements that are included in the business model canvas are things that you can look at and compare and then make modifications from. So let's look at, so we talked about two main ways to have innovation increase your financial position. So the first one is to create some kind of revenue stream. So how you get money, usually if you have a product, you just sell more, so it's sales would be a revenue stream. And then on this side, we have cost. So we can see both sides of the equation. So like here we can save money and here we can increase income. So that's the bottom line, right? You wanna focus on those things. And then on this side of the business model canvas, we have the back end. You know, what is basically the strengths, right? If you were going to do a SWOT, you would consider the strengths of the business. So key partners. I think this is a video game company. So they're talking about their key partners that they work with. So here is Facebook, okay, probably for advertising, PayPal, American Express, so they have something so customers can pay and buy things. Other promotional networks, I don't really know Zazzle, I don't know it. They have something connected to different retail stores such as 7-Eleven, Target, Best Buy, some GameStop, which is a place that sells games. I guess it's online now. And then they have different advertisers that use their products. So probably they advertise their game up here in Facebook and probably Google AdWords. And then the companies that advertise within their game would be here, McDonald's and Bing or whatever. So these are their partners. These are all the people they have to maintain relationships with. That's a strength that they have as partnerships. Talking about the resources here, well, here's what they do. So up here they have, what is it that they do? They create games, they maintain the existing games and basically, monitor them, maintenance. And then they provide customer support. So there are innovations here in game creation, and for that, they have resources. They have key resources. They have game designers, artists, developers, and testers of the games. So this is connected to their activities. They have existing games for cross-promotion, so they can use that to maintain the existing games. And then they have their sales and marketing teams for customer support. So this is all the back end of the business. This is internal. This is what the customer does not see. Here, under cost structure, they can imagine these relationships, either save them money, help them where cost might be high or low. I'll talk about the list here. What can they do? Usual cost, so they have their fixed cost, the usual cost of doing and operating the business. They have R&D costs on new games, so research and development, R&D. Maintenance, so keeping up with the gaming world, so they're going to keep their games that are already going and also adapt them to new conditions. Sometimes in their costs they buy competitors if they see some way that they can expand their market share that way. They have to generate fresh content for existing games, which costs money, and also they do promotion, right? So they have to do advertising, sometimes events. So this is all showing the different places where their biggest costs are. So this is a canvas. This is something that you can work on. Ways that you can imagine your company that some changes might happen that you can improve the situation. So that's on this side. So on this side, here's your relationship with your customers in the operating environment. So here we have our main customer segments. These are the people that you're serving. So they're serving gamers. It gives some 60% female, 40% male, so some kind of games that are targeted mostly at females. They're also making money from advertising, so they're getting money from, these are their customers, they're gamers, but also the advertisers who use them to reach the customers. So those are their customers. This is the way that they relate to their customers, so this is part of their customer support. So they have a Facebook page that allows them to interact with customers, and also they have forums, I guess. And the channels that people get the games from. I guess they play pretty much through Facebook. So Facebook is the distribution delivery as well. So they can do, it might be Zynga. I don't know if this company is Zynga. They do like words with friends, for example. So they have the channels of their distribution. So this is distribution. See, there's a little truck here. So the distribution for an e-gaming company is just simply whatever, Facebook or whatever. But this could be channels, could be done through stores, retail operations. So this is distribution. So distribution and the customer relationships and the market, the target market, these are all related on this side. And then we have the costs over here, key partners and internal business here. And then we have the revenue streams. So where does the money come from? So this includes the payment method. So it could be credit cards or cash or whatever. You might need to define that. In this case, traditional advertising revenues, they get money from online advertisers. Also from selling, so when you're in the app, there's some games, people pay money to get coins in the app so they can get better avatars or better in-game experiences. So these are the revenue streams. So for this company is just getting money from advertising mostly and some customer money. So if you were a different kind of business, you would get money from maybe cards, cash, different kinds of online, maybe bank transfers, who knows, whatever ways that people can pay. So in the middle of this is a center, and there's a little picture of a gift. The gift there is relating to the value, it's called a value proposition, and it's about what does this offer to, what do you offer for customers? This can be updated as well. But in this case, we'll take words with friends, which is, I play, so full disclosure. Free to play, it's free. I didn't pay anything for it. I'm sure they're stealing all the information from my phone again. Oh my God, I should remember that. Mindless entertainment, it's 90% mindless, 10% mind. But I like the 10% mind part. Social interaction, so you get some little level, minor level of competition, maybe some text messages. I've had some weird people try to use words with friends to meet me, say like, who are you? I'm like, delete, you're weird. Why are you going in a words game and trying to meet people? You're weird. So anyway, that's the value that it offers to the customers. So when you look at all of this together, you can consider what parts of you can innovate on your distribution. You might find customer segments that are new. You might find different ways to relate to your customers, new revenue streams, ways to cut costs, ways to manage your resources, new partnerships that can help you to increase sales, and possibly increase the product selection. So you can think about all of these things in the business model canvas as a way that you may be able to create some innovation. So I think it's very useful. Let's look at a company that does use it. Can go through an example here. There's a pretty decent website with this guy. This one is talking about Amazon, Spotify, and Tinder. Okay, so they give 3 examples of different, like, you know, competitive advantages that are gained by using this kind of thinking and how it changes, you know, how you can visualize it. So let's check it out. Business model, innovation.
Is Amazon such a successful? Why is Amazon such a successful company? How come Tinder disrupted the overcrowded online dating market? And how did Spotify manage to make people pay for music again? Well, let me give you some quick answers here in the promo video, so you understand what this course is all about. Since the beginning, Amazon based its whole innovation strategy on constantly disrupting the sales and delivery channels, which are just one part of a business model of a company. They started by disrupting channels for the books market. Instead of going to a library to buy and pick up your physical books, you would order them online and get them delivered by post directly to your home. That was channel innovation, and Amazon.
So, right, distribution innovation was so it changes the partnerships, it changes maybe some of the key staff and personnel that you need. It changes your relationships with the people who supply you, because they have to supply ebooks now instead of physical books. So your business model will change. When you change one part of it, you might change all of it.
Amazon kept doing this ever since by selling more and more products online. When they created the Kindle, it became yet a new sales and delivery channel for books. You can both buy and receive books on your Kindle. And now Amazon is experimenting with drone delivery, which is yet another delivery channel. And they also introduced the Echo device with Alexa and the Dash buttons, which are both new sales channels. So instead of going on Amazon.com to order something, you can now tell Alexa to do it or press your Dash button. So both these devices are innovative sales channels. As you can see, Amazon is mainly innovating in one single area of the business model, which is the sales and delivery channels. Spotify is doing the same, but in another area of the business model, which is the revenue models. If we go back to the CD era, you needed to pay a big sum of money for a whole album, even if you only liked a few songs on it. Then Apple came with iTunes and disrupted this market by allowing people to pay for each song individually. That was the first massive revenue model innovation in the music industry. But illegal downloading was still a big problem and music revenues were going down. Eventually, Spotify came and proposed a streaming model where you could listen to music for free but with advertising, and the ad revenue was distributed among artists. So this was once again a revenue model innovation for the music industry. More and more people downloaded the app, but still, it didn't make enough money for the artists. That's why Spotify later introduced a paid version of its app, without advertising and with better features. So the whole revenue model became what we call a freemium one. That's when you have both free and paying users. And Spotify managed to reach a stunning 25% conversion rate. It seems that finally, the music industry...
Okay, so what are they talking about, conversion rate? That means of all the free customers who used their service when it had advertising, that 25% moved from free service to no advertising premium service, which is a pretty good rate of conversion, considering that, yeah, most people just keep going for free if they can. But, yeah, so Spotify, and I think most people do want to pay for music. They don't want musicians to starve, they want musicians to get paid. But it's hard for them to figure out how to get paid. And so they figured out a new revenue stream. Instead of charging per song or charging per CD or charging per album, they came up with a premium monthly price. Now the question is, you know, how much money do the artists really get from this? And that's a bigger question and a difficult question. I'm sure there's a few artists that do well, but most of the small artists probably do not. but that was a revenue stream, or let's say an innovation in how people pay.
Industry has reached the right pricing and revenue model. So the success of Spotify is largely based on its disruptive revenue model in the music industry. And once again, this is just one block of their business model. And finally, Tinder dramatically disrupted the overcrowded online dating industry by innovating on design. Yes, just the design of their app and service. Instead of filling a complex form on an online dating website about your body measurements, eye color, income, interests, etc. to be somehow matched with the person that corresponds to you, Tinder went all the way back to the roots, which is the looks of the person. Look at the picture. Do you feel attracted to the person you see? Yes? No? Then swipe right or swipe left. Super easy. And as long as the other person didn't swipe back at you, you can't contact them. So girls can't be harassed anymore and don't need to filter through dozens of guys writing them. And so they are more willing to use the service. All of this is design innovation. Both the visual design of the app, but also the design of the service, how it works compared to the competitors. And design fits right here in the value proposition block of the business model.
So it's a product, basically. App is the product in this case. So I'm not using a lot of dating sites, believe it or not. Yeah, so they're saying that there was a trend towards a lot of information, and then it just got simplified with this idea of Tinder, and because it was simplified, it was more attractive to customers, and people looked at it as a different value, a different offer than the other offers. Maybe the other offers look too serious and this looked more fun or whatever. So this is where the benefits and features and customer perceptions come in. So fun, right? This is kind of a fun thing, this business model innovation. I'll put a few more examples online. The videos from this, the guy who makes these videos is pretty good. So I'll put this link to this website as well, or this, YouTube channel. Okay, so let's watch the end of this, and I'll talk to you later. Have a good day. I'll see. Oh, 1 o'clock. You have a thing, but that's all right. You won't see this until after.
Another company which is successful thanks to design mainly is Uber, but I'll stop here for now. There are many other areas of the business model where companies innovate. Some become successful by innovating on their target customer, others by disrupting the customer relationships and their marketing strategies. Yet others do it by optimizing their processes and costs and become much more efficient than most of their competitors. So this course is about disruptive innovation. If all what I said sounds interesting to you, then go ahead and check out the free previews of this course, especially the introduction, to know more in details what we're going to cover in it. If you're interested in business, innovation, and technology, I guarantee that you will love this course.
All right, guys. Have a great day. Bye-bye.